Welcome. My name is Kathrina Miccio, and you are joining us today on Indie Film Online, and we are hosting the Venus Italian International Film Festival, which is going on June 6th and 7th, and the awards will be on the 8th, all online at indiefilmonline.com. So today we have Fran Sisco, who has a script and also a music video. So let's bring her on. Hi, Fran. This
Hi,
is
Kathrina.
Fran Sisco. She is a wonderful screenwriter, and you also have done some music videos, a little documentary. Tell us about yourself and what you have in the Venus Italian International Film Festival.
Well, I'm so happy to be in this festival with you. This is the third time I've been in a festival with you. Cutting Room twice, this festival, and hopefully I'll get to go to Procida when that festival happens. For this, right, hopefully. For this festival, I have a screenplay called The Past Comes Back, which is a, not necessarily a sci-fi, but it's a combination of sci-fi and thriller and fantasy. And it's about a group of very close friends who were teenagers together and used to play cards together and do all the things that young boys would do at 18, 19 years old. And now they've met up again after many years together at someone's house, and they're going to play a game, but it's not going to be a card game. It's going to be a game that they were other people in their past lives. And that information leads them to transform their current life.
And they're famous, they're well-known people, right?
Yeah, that's right. So as an example, one of the characters happens to have been Christopher Columbus. And so when he first goes back into that life, he was a very proud Italian-American. All these friends were Italian-American and grew up in Italian-American neighborhoods, that type of thing. And he was very, he grew up with believing that Christopher Columbus was like a saint. You know? So what he does is when he goes back and finds out he was Christopher Columbus, first he's thinking of all the wonderful things that he might do in a current life with that kind of notoriety and stuff. But then he finds out that darker side of Christopher Columbus, and it makes him realize that he had a darker side. With his ex-wife, he was very abusive, put it that way. And it gives him an opportunity to come clean about that, not only to himself, but to the friends that are now in this card game. So he's a person whose life had been changed. So he went back to be Christopher Columbus. It had a beneficial impact on his current life. He's literally transformed during that meeting with his friends. Another person goes back and had always wanted to be an artist, a sculptor, like his grandfather. And then what happens is he goes back into this, he becomes Michelangelo. And now in the film, you'll see Michelangelo laying on his back, painting the Sistine Chapel, and then you'll see him in other scenes doing other paintings and sculpture. And then what happens is that he, all of a sudden in his present day, his present life, he realizes that he can go and sculpt something right then and there. He had no creative skill in the present life, but when he went back, he found out that his grandfather, he knew his grandfather was, and not only go back to their past lives, but they also go back to their childhood. So you're watching you'll be watching a movie of people in their early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, and then you'll see how they were as 14-year-olds and 19-year-olds and stuff like that, and then you'll see them in these other characters. So that screenplay actually came from a conversation with you, as you know.
Yes. You actually read me a poem, and it blew me away because you also write tons of poems. And this one, I don't know, for some reason, you just said, I have to read you this poem. And I said, okay. And I said, this has to be a screenplay. You have to write this. It's an incredible story.
Yeah.
I love the concept of going back in history and, some people redeeming themselves if they could in present.
Yes.
So I think it's a great idea, and I really hope that you get this film made.
Yes, and I know some people because I also act, and I've been in plays and in other films and have contacts with people. So I already have some people in mind for playing these various different roles, So I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to translate it into Italian, because I actually can see this film not only being done in this country, but being done actually in Italy.
Absolutely.
About not only played by Italians, of Italian teenagers and growing up, but also speaking Italian. In other words, a film about Italian Americans that gets filmed and played in Italy, if you will. Not Italians growing up in Italy, but Italians growing up in the United States. Sort of like, anyway. So I think it could have a wide.
Speak a little broken English.
Yeah, right. And there's some spirituality elements to it, and I think it could have a wide appeal. So I'm really excited about that and being part of your festival.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you've won a few awards with the Happy Trans Girl. Yeah.
Yeah. Happy Trans Girl Like Me is a 17-minute documentary about myself, my own transition from living as a man for most of my life to about 10 years ago, deciding to stop living in two genders because I was a cross-dresser from when I was age 10. But I was presenting very much as a male. And, I lived a male life, wife, child, house, all of that, job. And then finally, it became too much on me. And I realized that my life was going by and I wasn't being the female that I wanted to be all my life. And then a few incidents happened. I believe in karma and destiny and the impact of people in your life. And those things happened. And then I decided to go full-time female. And as soon as I did, everything started opening up for me. I started doing stand-up comedy, a lot of it, as a way to express myself. And that really helped me. So instead of just transitioning to female and being closeted still about it, I went full out with it. And then I decided
could happen through comedy, right? Anything you could, I mean,
like in your case with your film St. Joseph, comedy is a phenomenal way to deal with therapy. You know, I also have a radio show called Crisis Help Radio Show, and we explore on that show how different hobbies, different passions, basically, like stand-up comedy, writing, art, film, plays, football, whatever your passion is, when you start doing that, it attracts the good karma of other people and really allows that to happen. So the comedy, so I put together a number of these comedy sets or pieces of comedy that were really about my transition. And then I did that, and I combined that with some other scenes. And in fact, one scene was from the New York City Pride Parade, which comes to mind now, this being Pride Month, where I got on the float, the Episcopal Church float, and went down Christopher Street, which is a very famous street in the Village, proud of being a transgender female, and literally thousands of people waving and stuff like that. And that scene is in the film. And thanks to you.
That wasn't planned, right?
Wasn't planned.
Wasn't planned. I think that's what made it so much fun.
Right. I think most things in life really aren't planned. I did I'm going to be in on Friday a virtual art exhibit. You know, now that we are all not able to be live, I've been doing some wood sculptures. I have some steel sculptures, and I have paintings, as you know, some acrylic paintings. And 3 of them have been accepted into this. It's called See Me. It's a virtual art exhibit for the New Rochelle Council of the Arts, and that's going to be on Friday. I'm very proud of that.
Oh, I know. See Me. They did the Times Square thing, right? That was the organization that did.
Well, actually, I think this is not that organization.
Oh, okay.
It's they use that name.
Okay.
It's really a celebration of LGBT life.
Okay.
Now, in LGBT life, I've become a trans advocate because many people, some still, misunderstand what transgender means. You know, they associate, if you're transgender, then that means you're automatically not heterosexual, which is very far from the truth. Most transgender females who are men who live as women are married with children and actually prefer the company of women. So part of that film was also to show how happy I am being trans, but also shed some light on and about what it means to be trans also. And so I've used that film in a number of different screenings throughout the metropolitan area, and at least 4 or 5, and have given talks about being transgender and have showed either part of that film or another film called Being a Trans Girl. And that has really opened up a lot of things and made me feel that I'm contributing also to society in a way.
Oh, you won like out of the country too. I don't remember. In Spain, where was it that you won for?
Yeah, I won in 2 other festivals, international festivals, highly rated ones, IMDb, top 100 festivals. One in Venezuela and one in Chile. And actually, and the one in Chile also has seen the screenplay, and I've also been selected. That hasn't been, decided yet, but I've been selected two times, with the screenplay. And those online festivals have gotten, hundreds and hundreds of views of the film. So I'm very happy about that.
That's so great. I want to talk more. Oh, so and you also came to the Venus Festival last year in Las Vegas.
What a treat that was.
That was so much
That
fun.
was so cool. And it was so great. And like for this festival here, the focus on being Italian,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every culture is great, but to really appreciate your own, all four of my grandparents were Calabrese from Calabria, and being Italian American was such a big part of my life growing up. So being at that festival and that being the focus, and then you had that special party,
Yeah.
in the Italian American Club in
Italian,
Vegas.
where the Rat Pack used to perform. We
Yes,
had Gary Anthony, who was a Frank Sinatra impersonator and a big band.
fabulous performer.
Spread of food with
That was so.
meatballs and
That was great.
and
And
I got
being a
thing. It was like me being at my own wedding. I need a thing.
being being at your festivals, or all festivals, but especially your festival, it feels like family. And I want to add, at the Cutting Room festival, it's in one room at the Cutting Room in New York City, and so you really it's not like you're running from room to room. You're basically in a room, and usually there are a lot of people in that room, so you get a lot of people to see your film. For Happy Trans Girl, I remember that day clearly. There were about 200 or more people in the room, clapping, laughing along with the jokes that are in the film, and singing along with the song, because the song I wrote called Happy Trans Girl Like Me. So, each of your festivals really fosters collegiality and getting to know other people. So one of the fellas, for example, Peter Gonzalez, he gave a toast type of thing to Brendan Young, who had that amazing film called The Widow.
Right, because Brendan couldn't make it. He's in
Right.
Australia.
And then I met Cristiano Esposito, who has the two films, Anne Frank, in your festival this year, the Venus Festival this year. Anne Frank didn't go to the stadium, and the morning the procession, missing procession. And so those contacts came as a way of the festivals, meeting those people.
And they ended up from not going to Venus. They heard so much about the Venus Festival, and
right.
then they ended up coming to the Cutting Room in October, and they were both there. One who's from Italy, who's from Australia,
right.
It was amazing, and every year it grows more. I was so upset about not having it in Miami. I was going to have it in Miami this year at the Hard Rock. But maybe it wasn't meant to be there. Maybe we have to go back to Vegas, because
right.
It was the first ever Italian film festival in Las Vegas.
It was fabulous. It was really a wonderful opportunity. Also gave me a little bit to relax in between films, going to the pool, meeting some people in Vegas. I mean, it was really, I hadn't been to Vegas in 30 years.
50 people came from New York.
Yeah.
And from all around the world.
It was great. I want to say this other thing, Kathrina, is that even though we weren't able to do a live festival this year, you really, made a lemon out of lemonade, lemonade out of lemon, rather.
Well, we put it back together into its full form.
Yeah, no, this forced you, actually, to get more involved in virtual, forced all of us, really. And I could see that you've had so many interviews. I've watched a couple of the interviews that you've had already. I saw the interview about Almost Made. It was a fabulous interview. And meeting other people that way and learning. So when we get back to never normal, but back to sort of reality, living like that, you'll still have all these other skills. Everybody else will have them, and it will allow us to communicate even more. Like I find I'm using Zoom much more in my regular life now than ever.
Or the way that the magazine came about, and now the YouTube channel, is because I needed a home for my 3 festivals, because I was juggling all these websites and then the film freeways, and I said I need one place that everybody could go to and find all the information there.
Yeah.
So I just created a website, and then I said maybe I could bring in other people into other film festivals. Oh, maybe we could get some advertising. Oh, is
Right.
that a magazine? It sounds like a magazine.
I remember the day you called me about that. Tell me about that
And
idea.
so, yeah, I don't have it yet, but I just bought this software that actually turns. It makes it look like the pages are turning in full. So
Right.
that's, I have to learn how to use this program, but it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, it's just a month old, the magazine, you know, and I'm just charging like $50 a page. But hopefully I won't have to charge the filmmakers anything if I get enough advertising.
That's great. Very
You
good.
know,
And
I mean, that's, you know, that's supporting. That's being supportive. Everybody's like, no, you have to charge more than 50. No, I'm not. I don't want to.
right.
Not
Right.
about the money. It's about
Yeah, you want to
giving back to the community of indie filmmakers. That's why I'm doing this.
Right.
You
And the
know,
more reasonable something is, the more people
pretty
participate.
awards, which makes me happy. I like to give out pretty.
I have it right on my windowsill. I see it every morning when I make coffee.
That's right.
And I have the other one too. I have the other 2 also for
Cutting room.
for the cutting room. You know, I have the 2 different ones for the cutting room.
Yeah, no,
And
she's staying now because everybody liked her so much. So
yeah, it's beautiful. You know, really, she is beautiful.
she's marble on a marble stand. It's pretty.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. So I'm happy to bring her back.
Very
And
good.
up from an Italian painter, Botticelli. So,
Right.
and she's Venus. So there you go.
There's so much wonderful Italian culture to share.
It's unbelievable.
You know, and for us to respect and like about our own life, I've been looking back at videotapes that I had of family,
Mhm.
and some older Italian men and women, and the family aspect of that, and really, it really is very comforting and wonderful.
There's
And
some incredible documentaries in this festival. I just had an interview with this filmmaker and director of this documentary, and his film is called The Hill. And who knew that there is? Have you ever?
I didn't know until I saw the trailer. I didn't know that.
Louis, Missouri, there is a 52 street
Square block.
square block of Italians that
Right.
that immigrated there, and they, you know, their families have all stayed there. 52 square blocks.
Right.
And
Right.
it ends up that my friend Larry Romano, who I was in his film, I see him on the screen. He's being interviewed. Like, what's he doing in St. Louis with this German Shepherd? Ends up that he moved there, and I found out by seeing the movie. And he's like, yeah, well, New York is not, you know, it says one street left, Mulberry Street.
Right. By the way, it was on Mulberry Street that I was at the San Gennaro Festival, and that was a big part of my film, Happy Trans Girl. That's San Gennaro.
That's right. It was at the San Gennaro. Yeah.
And I'm just finishing up. I've actually, the video I was showing it on Saturday, a video of friends of mine singing in the still of the night on Mulberry Street at Cha-Cha's
Ah,
with Vinnie Pastore and the Gangster Squad.
wow.
And it's an incredible, because of the 3 guys that were singing, 4 guys, Anthony Avina was there. And let me just
Say that again.
sorry, I should show. Anthony was there, Skip Giacco, and Rich Giacco, and Paul Saricelli. Paul and Skip have died in this last couple of years. And this video is a wonderful testament. And so when I was showing it on Saturday in a Voom show, it turns out that Rich's birthday was Saturday. And it just coincidentally, we ended up showing that. It was really moving. So what I'm getting at is film, as you know, film and video are really wonderful ways to really get in touch with what's really important, you know, in your life.
Wow.
You know, really.
I think that this, even though, you know, it's all online, I'm trying to do my best to bring into, you know, everybody together. We're going to have Q&As after each 3 blocks, at the end of the 3 blocks each day, after the 6th and after the 7th. And then the 8th, we're all going to get dressed up and have a red carpet.
Good. Very good.
So why not?
Yeah, why not? Ready?
Yeah, I know.
How dressy?
Oh, well, you could be any way you want.
Go all the way.
Oh, you went all out for the Venus event, right? With the boa.
You know what I did with that dress, by the way?
Pages.
What I did with that dress, Kathrina? Do you remember it had like a big rolled kind of, it was
like a
like
boa.
chiffon collar. It was blue, big sequins, but it had this big collar.
Yes.
I cut the collar off, and now it's sort of not a low cut, but it's without the collar. It's something you could wear more often.
Oh, okay.
You know, than having this big
collar.
What?
What'd you do with the collar?
I saved the collar. I haven't figured out whether to make like a muff about it or something, you know. But anyway, that was a great part of that festival. Also, Cutting Room, seeing everybody dressed up was.
I got dressed up for Vegas, and who came in tuxes. It was beautiful.
And then even in the Cutting Room, the Q&As were amazing. I remember being on the stage with several people, many of whom I've made contact with and have seen after that, including PJ Landers, who had a film about his mother.
Him and I were both crying on stage.
Yeah.
We really have to wrap this up because I have another Zoom meeting right after. And so I want to really thank you for coming on and sharing your work and your scripts and all that with the festival. And we love your work at Venus, at the Cutting Room. And did you submit to Proshida too?
Not yet, but I will be.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll see you at the Q&A.
Very good. All right. Look forward to it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye.
Stay safe.